So, love it or hate it, we played a lot of dice equations this year. I would write the equation, you would choose which letter between A and B, and then depending on what the die landed on, that would determine how many points you got based on the equation. So, my question for you is what did X stand for when we played dice equations? Now, if you said something along the lines of the die value or whatever the die lands on, which is the singular word for the word dice, it's just one dice is a die, then you're correct. X stood for whatever the die lands on. That's the number that X really was. It was kind of hidden behind the X in a way. So we didn't have to write X. We could have just wrote whatever the die lands on plus 2 or 3 times whatever the die lands on. But that's a lot of words. We don't want to write more words than we need to. See, it'll hurt Ralphie's brain. And that's why we use what are called variables. X was a variable. And what that basically means is that it's a letter that stands for a number. You put the letter in place of the number so that you don't have to write out the words to describe what it meant. So whenever you see a variable, it's going to seem new. It's going to seem different than what you're used to. What you have to do is just ask yourself, what does this variable stand for? Okay? You see any letter in a math equation, what does that stand for? You ask yourself that question, try to figure out the answer, ask me the answer in class or something. And when you figure that out, you realize, well, variables, they're not that intimidating. Let's look at a stressful situation. Here's some math that you might do in your senior or junior year of high school. And if we look at this equation particularly right here, it probably makes no sense to you. But we ask ourselves, well, we see this A. We see a ton of A's actually. What does A stand for? We ask ourselves that, and if this girl in the picture is on the right track, she's going to ask herself that too. You ask yourself that, and then eventually you figure out what A stands for. And then there are also a bunch of B's, and you figure out what does B stand for. If you can figure that out, you'll be able to understand the equation. But of course, this is more complicated math than we're going to do today.